If you do any prospecting with LinkedIn, you have got to go get set up with Surf. That's SURFE. It's a tool you can use to add new contacts to your CRM system directly from LinkedIn in seconds. I'm using it every single day. I add contacts, follow my deals, keep track of notes, and it ends up saving me a bunch of time on prospecting and outreach, which means I can spend more time moving my deals along. The data is always 100% accurate since I don't have to copy and paste all the fields over from each and every contact that I want to put in my CRM. Instead, Surf does that all automatically with just one click in about 60 seconds. The team over at Surf has put together a very special offer for fans of sales players. There's a link down in the show notes, and you can use the promo code JWSurf5. Don't forget the E at the end of Surf. That's JWSurf5 for 5% off your first year. Don't spend another minute doing things manually. Go get set up with Surf. Building yourself a career highlight reel. And the reason I'm bringing this up, and this may be obvious to many of you out there who are listening, but frankly, it's a topic that's come up several times over the last few weeks as I'm working with a family member right now who's trying to get into SaaS. I've been working with several other early stage career SaaS sellers. And I also am working with several of you listeners out there who've reached out for one-on-one coaching. And this topic has come up several times. It's something that I've been doing for several years now and thought I'd pass it along as a career management tip or tactic. And so building yourself a career highlight reel, regardless of where you are in your career or your SaaS career, I think it's a really good idea to begin documenting specific results that you've achieved thus far. How do you do it? So I think there's a number of different ways that this can take shape. You can create a Google Doc as a sort of working document that you can update on an ongoing basis. You can use a spreadsheet, a slide deck. You can even use pen and paper if that's your preferred method. You can take screenshots on your phone. I actually do that. I'll take for example, when I close a deal and I get a shout out in a Slack channel, I'll take a screenshot of that and save it so that when I'm in future conversations, I can actually reference my, manager posting about the win or the sale, and it'll have the revenue amount. You can take screenshots from a Salesforce dashboard, as long as that's okay with your company. You can have all of these different things and sort of paste them into a Google Doc. So I'll tell you a little bit about how I do it. I have I have a couple of different resources. I have a spreadsheet that I keep, names of prospects that I've worked with, sort of my Rolodex, if you will. I know Rolodexes are sort of a thing of the past in some ways, and a lot of people manage their Rolodex through LinkedIn. I think that's also a really good way to do that. But I also keep names and contact details, as long as, again, it's not, taking it out of your company's CRM and you have permission to do this. Be documenting the names of the people that you've worked with over the course of your career, because you never know when that person's going to move on to another company, you're going to move on to another company, and your paths are going to cross again, and there's going to be an opportunity to work with that individual. And I've now seen that happen a couple of times where some large deals have come to fruition because of someone that I was already connected to, that I've already worked with in the past. So I highly recommend, first and foremost, that you're documenting who you're working with deals on, who you're prospecting into. And if you're an SDR right now, maybe that's whoever you set the meeting with. Connect with them on LinkedIn and, make a note of who they are so you don't forget who they are and what their role is, and start building out a spreadsheet with that information in it. Then I also document winning templates that I've used. So this is really, on the super nerd level. But I'll have a log of all the different emails that I've used over the course of my career that have worked really well, because I think some email templates, especially for prospecting and for follow-ups, are somewhat timeless, and they can be used across multiple different companies, because all you need to do is sort of sub out the specific value proposition for your current company, but a lot of the fundamentals of the email are exactly the same. So I have several email templates that I've used over the years that have been high performers. I'll document those and keep a record of those. Then I actually use a slide or a Google Slides to document some of my career successes. So that's things like my attainment numbers, performance metrics, meeting set, pipeline generated, logos won. And I have my own version of what they call a NASCAR slide, where I basically put all of the logos that I've closed in my career. And that way, when I go and revise my resume, or, even when I'm speaking to prospects, I'll sometimes work in that I, did a deal with XYZ company that's similar. Even if it wasn't at the current company, I can still reference my personal experience working with a similar brand because I've done it at some point in my career. So logging all the different logos you've sold to is another really great way to kind of build a career highlight reel. What else? You can document, again, percentages to quota, dollar figures, revenue, number of meetings, percentage pipeline generated, ramp times, how quickly you ramped, how fast were your sales cycles, any, specific individuals you worked with, specific revenue numbers, any other details. I would put those into either a PowerPoint or a Google Slides or a Google Doc or a Word doc, whatever you choose. Or again, you can write them on pen and paper if that's the best way to do it. And then, I take a lot of screenshots of things like posts that have had a lot of traction or email responses I've received from, top executives or something like that. So I document everything, and I just sort of compile it all into a Google Drive. I have actually a personal drive that I use to manage everything from the podcast to sort of my career. You can just do it on your own personal Gmail drive as a way to consolidate it into a folder. It's just got, basically a bunch of my resources for my career. And then, so then I kind of use this for a few different use cases. One, when I'm interviewing for a new job, I can go and build an action plan for this job. I can update my resume. I can write down a couple of bullet point stories that show, where I was successful in the past and how that relates to the current role I'm interviewing for. So it just sort of consolidates all the information into one sort of repository where I can draw from everything from the logos I've worked with to the specific contacts. I can drop names. I can share specific attainment percentages. Oh, one other thing that I always save is commission statements. I know I'm a super nerd, but I will save my commission statements every month, every quarter. And I, think of those as somewhat proof of my ability to deliver in a role, because I have a specific commission statement from a finance department at my company showing my attainment and showing the dollar figure associated with doing that at the company. So I don't usually pull those out, but sometimes it's helpful to just keep a record of those, again, showcasing your results within your career. Maybe a screenshot of, if you're using something like Exactly, I think it is, which is a commission tracking software. There's a handful of those out there. I think QuotaPath is another one. If you use that, take screenshots of those things, as long as it's okay with your, your team. Check your company policies before you do that. But as long as that's okay, I would definitely take that as a record. The other thing is, any slides or materials that I've created, I usually won't completely take those from the company, because again, there's usually a corporate policy in place. But anything that you've templatized yourself, I would make a second copy of it. I have a whole code of conduct that I worked on at a previous role that I've sort of modified and built on myself over the years. And I now have that as a resource, and I read it and reread it every so often to make sure that I'm, abiding by this code of conduct. I know, super nerd. So what else? What else do I use it for? So interviews, but also promotion conversations. If you're looking to get a promotion in your current role and you have a highlight reel of everything you've accomplished in that role, and even in your previous roles, that conversation is going to be a lot easier if you can point to specific documentation, or if you know your numbers down pat. And that's the idea behind this, is that you know your numbers really well, you know your logos, your stakeholders, you just have all the information handy and readily available for you, so that those conversations around job interviews, promotions are a lot easier. Now, the last use case for it is kind of interesting. I use it as a confidence builder. I use it to remind myself that I know what I'm doing. It sort of eliminates the imposter syndrome problem in this business, because a lot of times you start over in a new role, you start over in a new quarter at a new company, and it feels like you have to climb back to the top of the mountain again. But the reality is, for a lot of you out there listening, you've been doing this for several years, whether that's 1 to 7 years or 10 years or 20 years. And you more than likely have delivered a lot of big results for your companies in the past and for your current company. So it's good to have this document to remind yourself, to get yourself pumped up and confident in, what you're doing. And then part of this use case is also being able to speak to your personal credibility as a seller. I draw from a lot of the deals that I've done at past companies in my current role because they are relevant. I don't have to say that they were done at a previous company, and I don't have to even say the specific names of the companies either. I can just allude to the fact that I've worked with a similar household name retailer as your company. And having this kind of document and tracking all of that is going to help you be more confident, both with your prospects, with job interviewers, with your manager as you're asking for a promotion, and as you go out and sell your product and sell yourself. Frankly, SaaS buyers buy from sellers that exude that confidence, that know how to manage a specific process, and that can confidently navigate them through that process. So I think these things will all help a lot. I highly recommend starting today, start yesterday, document any results that you've had and go back as far as you can remember, as far as you've got records for. Keep it in a working document in Google Drive, in a spreadsheet, in a Google slide deck. I actually use something called an action plan that I'll present, from time to time, not only to my current manager, but anytime I interview for a new role, I'll put the action plan in front of the interviewer. So I think that's a really handy trick to showcase what I'm capable of, what I've done before, and how I can take that information and those results from the past and showcase how those are going to work for me in the future, whether that's in my current role, in delivering against a quota, or in landing a new opportunity. So these are how I log everything, document everything. Again, I know it's a little bit crazy, some of the things that I keep hold of, like commission statements, but I think it's really important to document your journey and then to be able to draw from these insights as you pursue new sales cycles, new opportunities, and new promotions. So with that, thanks for listening, and take care.